7th, 2019, Sunday.
In North America.
And this is our teaching Sunday. We are talking about what are called the boundless states. There are 4, and they are taught variously in the different Buddhist schools. They are present and mentioned in the Yoga Sutras as well. So this is clearly a teaching that was somehow pan-Indian. Every Buddhist tradition has a slightly different take on the teachings on the 4 boundless states. We are teaching them in the mode which follows the Tibetan way of explanation. And the 4 briefly are equanimity. Oh,
We're
no,
going
we
to sing
don't
them.
do that. We don't do that. We do that before the
Oh, that's
teaching,
right. I'm sorry.
before the meditation. So the 4 boundless states are equanimity, love, compassion, and joy, specifically joy in the sense of appreciating the success of others. It's a very specific kind of joy. So we're talking about equanimity and the boundless state of equanimity. And there's much to be said about it. And I wanted to kind of drill down on talking about equanimity and bring it into how we practice our meditation. Because really equanimity is an attitude and a value that we bring towards ourselves. Can we have an attitude of evenness towards ourselves? And that is, if we're happy, can we be happy without getting attached to it, without trying to increase it, without getting excited about it, without getting deflated about it? Some people get upset when they get happy. And if we're unhappy, can we just let it be without, again, overreacting, despising ourselves, getting overreactive? And maybe most significantly, can we be tolerant of ourselves and not self-critical? My own practice as a therapist and as also as a Buddhist teacher, what I see most prevalent in almost everybody I talk with is a kind of towards the self. I'm bad. I'm miserable. I should beat myself up. I'm unworthy. I'm a flop. I can't. Now, interestingly enough, if you're actually hearing that kind of voice, it's actually kind of progress. A lot of people just embody that kind of voice, and they're just walking around in life feeling, without even, it's in the bones, I'm a flop, I'm terrible, I don't deserve. I deserve to be treated poorly. That's not equanimity. And if you're aware of that, at least with equanimity, you're way ahead of the game. But really being able to have an attitude of evenness towards oneself, in success, in failure, in just things going on. An attitude of engaged concern with oneself another thing that equanimity isn't is a little bit hard to describe this, but some of you who are old enough remember Spock in the old Star Wars, and he was kind of an icicle, and he was known for his kind of really devoid of engagement stance. It was kind of like one remove from everything. And that too is a kind of, that would be what we call in Buddhist teachings the near enemy of equanimity, namely a kind of disengagement, a kind of pushing everything away and not relating. Equanimity is not pushing everything away or an iciness towards life or towards oneself. It's just evenness, an even acceptance, an even engagement. And it's what we cultivate when we're observing the breath. We are noticing our breathing, and we're even towards it. We're breathing, we become merged with our breathing, and we're even in that process. We rest in our breathing, and that's what we're doing. So that's what I had to say as a lead-in. Gesundheit, dear.
So that evenness is really, really significant. And that evenness towards ourselves, that means it can happen within recognizing I've made a mistake. But for many of us, probably all of us some of the time, I made a mistake, and then the narrative goes on and on. It's because so-and-so did something to me. It's because I really have no capacity. It's because everything is going wrong. It's I'm no good. That, as Harvey is saying, is not equanimity. Equanimity is, I made a mistake, let's see what I can do about it. And you can just feel how much cleaner that is, how much less suffering that, involves. Okay, something went wrong, let's see, what can we do? And by the way, I'm sorry. I recognize I did something wrong. Okay. So equanimity towards oneself, another way of saying that perhaps is that there's a certain kind of space around your own experience of what you do. Similarly, I had great success. I got a congratulatory email. I got an award. I got recognition. I got a job. Okay, I'm on top of the world. That's who I am right now. And so then again, we come to a finely tuned discrimination. Of course, enjoy. We enjoy when we have success, when people appreciate us, when we're seen. Joy is part of life. Joy is a wonderful thing. It actually helps wake us up. Joy is different from, now what can I do next to top that? Or, wait till so-and-so hears how I did, and they didn't. These kinds of stories. Again, you can feel the student, probably just in thinking about that for 2 seconds, I can feel, even as I describe it, my stomach muscles start to tighten a little bit. And it's like so different from just, I'm really happy. I see I did. I tried to do a good job. I did a good job. Phew, wow. And by the way, thanks to everybody who helped me. And I'm going to, continue to do what seems to be working. Excellent. You can feel how different that is. That's what I mean by saying there's more space around it. You're not kind of like cloying onto it as an instant identity that you either want to get rid of or perpetuate. It's just, I did great. Yes, call your friend. Hey, guess what? It worked. Wonderful. But that's different from these other kinds of, it's not equanimity when we start planning and plotting and thinking about who's going to be jealous of us and how we can get ahead, and in a way that is just plain not equanimous. That makes sense? Some sense of equanimity. There's peace associated with equanimity. There's also a lot of power associated with it because it means we are less reactive. Generally speaking, we are totally reactive. Something good happens, yay, hallelujah, I'm on top of the world. Somebody frowns at you. It doesn't have to be much, right? Or somebody's 10 minutes late. Or somebody doesn't praise something that you did. Life sucks. We're very, very volatile when we watch ourselves often. Or at least more volatile than is optimal. So equanimity is like, hey, it's all okay. It's all okay in the sense that I'm okay. There's some kind of fundamental ground that's actually okay, even when stuff goes wrong. So this word, I want to say a little something about the word boundlessness and how it relates to equanimity and also to the other boundless states of love, compassion, and sympathetic joy, as it's often called, that delight in other people's success. It's a counter to jealousy. So the boundless states, boundlessness is an important figure in Buddhism. Talk about boundlessness, spaciousness, openness. Literally, the word boundless means immeasurable. You cannot measure, because if you think about it, whenever you want to measure something, there has to be a beginning and an end. You can't measure. We can measure from here to the sun, but can we measure from here to the end of the universe? Maybe it doesn't have one. It's always expanding, as far as I understand things, right? In any case, Buddhist idea of boundlessness comes up a lot. We speak about boundless living beings. Living beings are innumerable. You cannot count them, Buddhism says. There's just so many, and they're all over the place. As far as space extends, there are living beings, Buddhism says, visible, invisible. Planet Earth is just one, great home among zillions. Innumerable. In another way, in India, actually, innumerable means, I think, a number with, I think it's 50 zeros after it. It just means really huge. So, yeah. It doesn't always mean literally uncountable, but that is what the word means. Anyway, the point is boundless. And the sense of boundless, so we think about living beings as boundless in order to reckon with the experience, the aspiration that we are, the love, compassion, sympathetic joy that we are cultivating also will be boundless. And by cultivating equanimity, equanimity is the ground for that cultivation. Equanimity can also be translated as balance, a state of balance. We know what it feels like when you feel like you're in balance. You're not starving and therefore, hungry, therefore angry, as we like to say. And you haven't eaten too much or go to sleep, right? Balance. You're comfortable. Balance in life is very important. This word equanimity also means sameness. And so there's a level at which we practice equanimity in the way that Harvey is talking about. How can I maintain equanimity to myself? And if I can start to do that, if we can begin to tolerate our own unworthiness and some apparent unworthiness, what we feel is unworthiness, or our own mistakes, or our own failings. I mean, who has not failed? Who has not done something really, really stupid, right? Embarrassing, also mean, unkind, right? We all have. Equanimity is not saying never mind, as Harvey says. Equanimity is not indifference, but equanimity is, oh gosh, I did that. Ooh, okay. Let's see what I can do differently in the future. Let me understand. I can feel that this was not a good thing to do. Let's see. And then Buddhist practice, we have practices of just acknowledging our wrongdoing. Actually feels quite good. It doesn't have quite the same feel of Catholic confession, but it also obviously has some similarity. I did this wrong. You can tell somebody, you can tell the omniscient Buddhist if you feel that there's some kind of presence like that. But the point is acknowledgement. The point is not to carry it around and beat yourself up about it. That's how you get equanimity. So equanimity, as Harvey said, we cultivate equanimity when we cultivate mindfulness. So in our meditation session, starting at 11, we're going to be observing our breath. Now, when you're observing your breath, you're also observing your your attention, how your attention is going. And what we're seeking to do is to find a certain kind of sameness, which is easy with the breath, because breath is not too dramatic. But still, thoughts pop into your head. I'm not doing this right. I'm tired. I don't really like this. Oh, this is wonderful. I want to do it forever. Just stuff going on in the head. So you have an opportunity to practice equanimity with respect to that. Oh, my mind's gone off again. Oh yeah, bring back, start over. Simple. It's very clean, right? When you start going, oh gosh, I've been practicing all these months, years, I still can't keep my mind on my breath. And anyway, so-and-so was really mean to me last night. Now I'm going to, right, we all go into these kind of, that's not equanimity. And it's taxing also. Even if you, before you hear the voice in your head, you might start to feel, again, I start to feel it even as I, describe it, just a little bit of pinching in my abdomen. Like I'm not, okay, let go of that. Just go back to the breath. Let it go. This happened. Let it go. So we're cultivating a sense, I want to say, of sameness. Another word, that this word that gets translated as equanimity could also be translated, as I said, as balance, also as sameness. The semantic ranges of words in different languages are different. So balance, sameness, equilibrium, equanimity. It could say something like easy presence, for getting just descriptive of the feeling. There's something that's the same about your knowing, no matter what you know. It's kind of a big teaching. There's something that's the same about your knowing, no matter what you know. In every case, there's some knowing. There's something like a light, of knowing, some clarity, some presence. Whenever you know anything, good or bad, we tend to get all sucked into what the object is. This is bad, I feel bad. But inside that there is some knowing. And if we look more for a moment into a particularly Buddhist way of looking at this, particularly in a way that it's very, very much aligned with the ancient Buddhism of Tibet, Nyingma, and really even with Dzogchen itself, the great completeness teaching, we understand that that sameness is what is part of the essential life of the mind, and not just ordinary mind. The essential life of our existence as knowing beings. We know. We're always knowing. We're always aware. And that awareness has a quality of clarity. It has a quality of a kind of purity, actually. And if we really get down to it, it is aligned with, for those of you who know this term, it is aligned with what Buddhists call Buddha nature, which everyone has. It's also called the element, the sacred element, the dhatu, the dharma dhatu, right? It's that space. It is a kind of spaciousness, but it's a luminous spaciousness. Just like, okay, when you see someone you really love, or a pet your dog comes to greet you as you open the door, somebody calls, you're so delighted. Sometimes we say something like, oh, my mind just lights up when I see that. The sense of, it's not a mystical state, right? It's just light up. Oh, I just lit up. I light, or you hear music, light up. That makes sense? We all light up sometimes, right? It means you like something. Some clarity. Whenever we encounter anyone or anything that we like, we notice that there's a kind of clarity there. So clarity is related with light. I don't mean there's a light bulb shining out of your chest, but you might have an experience like that, honestly. But we just light up. Okay, so that lighting up is an intrinsic quality of all living beings. Gets covered over by lack of equanimity, hatred, desire, nervousness, obsessive compulsive disorder, all these things. It gets covered over. But in a verse that I read recently, and this is tremendous impact, I feel, Nagarjuna's, I mentioned it on Tuesday night also, I think. Anyway, Nagarjuna's praise of this special quality, it's called the Dharma Dhatu, this special Buddha nature, this luminous element inside everyone, okay? Everyone. Not just humans either. All living beings. So forget about pigeonholing groups of people as, not as good as other people or something really, really wrong. Everyone has this quality. So everyone can become awakened. That's what it means. Everyone can become awakened. So this quality is like clear water deep in the earth. So earth we think of as, kind of dirty. But inside the earth, and we know it's true, right? There are springs, clear water. You just have to get down, drill down to them, clear away some of the earth, and there you have it. So this very important, very subtle idea, not so easy to experience, except I think that you do experience it anytime you feel a little bit calm. You have a little bit sense of, just like that, deep within all the affliction, all the afflictive states that we have, there is this luminous quality of knowing. Everyone has it. You can't stamp it out. It can get covered up, but you can't stamp it out. And this luminous quality of knowing is always the same. So there is a kind of ground, we could say, a kind of safe place within our own experience that is always available. That is to say, it's always there. We can't always access it because, sometimes we're just too agitated. But when we calm down a little bit, which is why we do the practices that we do that we're going to do at 11, we get in touch with it a little bit, right? You feel a kind of naturalness. And this is why, and this is a big thing, particularly in Longchen Rinpoche, the great genius of the 14th century, who is a central figure in the traditions that we practice here. Longchen Rinpoche. His name means vast expanse. Long means expanse, Chen means vast, and Rup means like an infinite extent of it. It's a very poetic, beautiful name already, Longchen Rinpoche. And that's kind of what we get access to when we cultivate equanimity in the end. So for Longchen Rinpoche, he points out that the cultivation of equanimity in the way that Harvey's discussed it, in the way that, whenever we see somebody, can we just wish them well? Can we just not be overcome by extreme, attachment, like I've got to have or control this person, or extreme hatred. I don't like this person. They're mean to me. I hope terrible things happen to them. Or indifference. Those three, each of those three are an obstacle to equanimity, which is just kind of like open space. And it's also like, it's the open space in which we can develop boundless love and compassion and sympathetic joy, which we will talk about future Sundays. I just want to say that this moment of accessing this thing that is same in your own experience, this is an opening to what Buddhists call the wisdom of sameness. The wisdom of sameness, to recognize this profound similarity, more profound, more pervasive than all of the differences that we can also enumerate. People are different in a variety of ways. More important than that, from the point of view of cultivating these boundless states, is that we are the same. We have the sameness of an awakened nature that is just a little bit occluded for us for now, but it's there. And in this way, we can appreciate the richness of our own being. And we also, whatever we find in ourselves of that kind of, luminous, sameness, knowing quality, everyone else has it. And we should treat them. They may not recognize it. We should be even-minded toward everyone, and that will open for us this vast expanse of spaciousness. And then we just live in a bigger place. So that's a bit on equanimity. Shall we spend 2 minutes to see if people want to say something? All right, do you want to have some question or comment or reaction? You're so equanimous.
Alan.
Thank you.
Hello. So is Buddha nature an inanimate object? Or is it?
It's a great question. It's not inanimate. It's actually sparkles with dynamism and potential. It's part of a living being. That help? Okay. Praise of the Dharmadhatu is a classic Indian text. It's been translated with a good commentary by the third Karmapa, if you're interested in reading it slowly. We have had some teachings on it. I don't know if you were here. We'll come back to it again. It's a great topic. Thank you. Hello, welcome. We're just segueing from our talk section to our meditation, and we'll have a moment's break also. Anybody else? Okay. I wanted to, especially...
Pam had her hand up.
Who?
Pam.
Pam. Okay.
I just want to make sure that I heard you properly, that you're basically making an equation between the Dharmadhatu and the Buddha nature.
Yes. It's not me.
Right, right. Well, that's what I thought.
Sangha, the Karmapa, many people have said, yes. There are also other ways of talking about Buddha nature and other things to say about the Dharmadhatu. But yes, fundamentally, it's our potential for complete awakening.
And it's the space.
It's the space filled with light. It's the potential. It is what manifests clearly when all afflictions are gone out of the way. Like an example that's given, like a candle in a vase. You know, the light is there, but you can't see it, and you perforate, put holes in the vase, and the light just shines. Those are examples. There are
I
many.
love that teaching.
Yes, I know. Yes, I agree. It's very, very key. It's very key, especially it's, in a way, if we look at Buddhist literature historically, it starts the trajectory of what it becomes Dzogchen. Longchenpa quotes Sangha a lot in talking about these things. Yeah. Nice. Thank you. Yeah, me too. Okay. I want to, especially folks who are maybe kind of new, I don't know, I've really like this book. It's not about equanimity as such, but it's in there, Happiness by Mathieu Ricard, a guide to developing life's most important skill. It's not even really about Buddhism, but it is totally about Buddhism. I use it in my introductory classes, and people like it. It's very valuable. Mathieu is himself, he's been a monk, Tibetan monk for over 30 years. Somebody that we know and respect. So if you're looking for a good read. Okay. Yes, ma'am. You need the microphone, and then we're going to have a break. But where's it? Deborah? The brochure question. Okay. Oh, short question. No.
Which version, which author in praise of the Dharmadhatu?
If you Google it, you'll find it. It's translated by Karl Brunholzer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, too. Thanks for being interested. All right. So we're equanimously happy now. We're just relaxing for a bit.
We'll take a few minute
we'll
break
take a
and then
couple
we'll
minutes
start our
and then
meditation.
We'll start. Praise of the Dharmadhatu. It's attributed to Nagarjuna, famous Nagarjuna. It's a thick book. It's got a commentary by the third Karmapa, who actually studied with Longchen Rinpoche. They had the same teacher. Yeah, there is a translation of it online by Scott or something like that. That's also a good translation. It doesn't have a commentary, though.